Okay, so before we get into this video, I'd like to give myself as a sponsor, and I'm sponsoring my ears that I've currently been making. So these are these are vending machine style ears, and these were the My Little Pony section, and as you can tell they are based off of the character Applejack, and I'm really impressed with how these turned out. They are so pretty, like they are so pretty. And we have a little star and moon and an apple, and obviously like a mint green, some apples here which are actually just red gems, some red and green gems going around all the way over on both ears, and some yellow at the back in more of a wolfy style, you would say, I guess. So if you would like a pair of My Little Pony inspired or Zoom Zoom inspired, then definitely go check out my vending machine video. It explains most things, but also I'd recommend checking my Instagram, which is linked down below, because I have regular updates. And just message me if you would like to buy. It costs no extra to do it vending machine style. You just get a mystery pair of whatever you decide to buy, and I also have more than just ear stuff as well in there, so definitely go check it out. But here's a quick close-up. That's so cute. Okay, so the fur itself is off of eBay, and so is the fleece, which is what the customer wanted. So they gave me a link, which I'm always happy to do. However, depending on what they link me to will depend on whether I agree to do it or not. So I'm just gonna have a look at the fur, because if the material quality is not good enough for me, I don't like to use it unless they specifically say. But if they specifically say they still want to use it, even though I've told them that the outcome's not going to be great, then they have to sign / agree to the fact that if it doesn't turn out the way they wanted due to the quality of the materials, that I am not held accountable for it. So the material itself, it's very soft, very fluffy, and it's a lovely pink. It's not pulling out easily or anything, and it's a decent length. The backing is a knitted backing, which means it's stretchy, which isn't my favorite to use. I prefer a backing that is more sturdy. But it's still, the backing seems like it's good material. It doesn't seem like it's going to have holes in it or anything, and it stretches nicely. It's not too loose, if that makes sense. So I'm happy to use this material. And when it comes to fleece, the materials normally, you know, it's fleece, you can't really go wrong with it, but it feels soft, it's not stiff, it's not sticky or anything. I've had that before. So I'm happy to go ahead and use these materials. Keep the receipts for expenses. Okay, so the next part is to separate your pattern pieces in for the fur and what is going to be the fleece. So for the lady, the pads, like the toe pads, are going to be out of fleece, which I think is a lovely material to do it out of, actually. And for the rest of the fur, it's all fur. So just like on the hand paws, instead of cutting out circles and sewing them on for the paw pads, I like to cut out a square that's bigger than the circle itself, and then obviously on the backing you can see the shape, and then you go around in the sewing machine like that. That way you get it in the perfect place. There are no holes, you don't miss anything by mistake, and it's just a really easy way to get it perfect. So for now I'm going to put the fleece aside until we get to that step. Okay, next we need to cut out all of the fur, so let's go ahead and do that. Firstly, I tape the two pattern pieces together, and I do want to mention, make sure you know which way the fur is going. This is very important, and line it up with the arrows on the pattern pieces. Otherwise you will have a terrible looking sock paw. So I used a water soluble marker to go around the outside, then I used a fabric marker to go on the inside. This is so it stays there but doesn't wash off, and I need it to do the A-placking later. And then originally I was gonna cut it out using the box cutter, except that wasn't gonna work because of how stretchy the material is. So I just used my scissors, which are very blunt because someone used them for the wrong thing. And so now I'm very upset. So make sure that you have fabric scissors separate from paper or anything else. And I highly recommend having really small scissors for when cutting out fur because it's so much more helpful. Otherwise you'll cut the fur and it will be really choppy, because you want to make sure you cut in small snips and close to the backing. Another thing, the diagram that you get with the pattern shows it for 1 foot. A little bit silly, but that's okay. So you want to make sure you do double to make sure that you have enough for 2 feet. So you want to do 4 pieces G, 2 for each foot, 4 pieces F, 2 for each foot, 2 pieces E, 1 for each foot, 4 pieces D, 1 for each foot, 4 pieces C, 1 for each foot, 4 pieces B, 1 for each foot, and 4 pieces A, 1 for each foot. And then obviously with the little toe pad bits, we'll be A-placking those on, so that's easy. And it is so important that you flip the pattern for half of the pieces. So for G, you would do 2 pieces one way and then flip it and do 2 pieces the other way. And the same with the others. So for E example, you would do 1 piece one way and then flip it 1 piece the other way. Otherwise you're going to have 2 left feet. So it's very important, and when flipping it, make sure that the fur direction is still the right direction, otherwise you have flipped it the wrong way. Try not to think too much into that, otherwise you might get confused, but just keep an eye out. So the next part, you want to be careful when brushing down the pieces that you have cut out. This is because sometimes if you have a fabric like this one, it unravels at the top, so I would recommend just using your finger and kind of brushing the edges to pull any loose pieces of fur out, and that will make it easier when you're making everything, because then it won't get stuck up your nose like it does for me sometimes. Okay, so for the next step, we are going to be pinning D and C together. So let's get D and C pieces. Don't forget to shave down the toe pieces, only the toe pieces though, because otherwise it won't look right. Now I only did it with D and C pieces, and I totally forgot to do it with the other pieces, but that's okay because we can do a final shave later on. But yes, do it now, it'll be so much easier. So right now I'm just lining up D and C to figure out which ones are D and C, and in a moment I'll show you how to put these together because it can be a little bit confusing. So on the pattern you can see the shape of D. Now you want to make sure the fur's up when doing this. As you can see, D and C, this is the shape it goes. It kind of curves against each other like this. So what you want to do is pin the top corners of C and D together. Make sure the smallest bit of C is at the top and the straight edge and sharp corner of D is at the top with C, and pin those together, and then just pin the other end. This way when you pull all the fur round for it to be sewn round, it will connect evenly all the way through, and it will definitely connect to the bottom of D. I hope that makes sense. If not, I do apologize, but you will get there. Just do a little bit of figuring out. So make sure that you're pinning with right sides together. In this case it's fur sides together, and then you just have to sew the pieces up. So once you've pinned C and D together, you want to do the same with A and B, and then A and B flipped, and then obviously you've done C and D on the other side. But make sure for each foot you have a C and D piece pinned,
A and B piece pinned, another A and B piece pinned, and another C and D piece pinned. So by pinning the corners, you want to make sure you pin the corner up here of C to the corner of D, and then pin the corner down here to over here, and then start pinning in the middle. This is to make sure that it reaches all the way around D, and it should do. If it doesn't quite, there's a little bit left, don't worry about it, or if there's a little bit more, don't worry about it. And the same thing with A and B. Remember, you want the smallest bit going at the top, and then it extends outwards, so it goes from small out. And you want to pin the top corners together, then the bottom corners, and then the middle. And then obviously the same this side, but it's slightly flipped. And then once we get to the sewing part, we are going to start sewing the separate pieces together. So sewing the separate pieces together, you want to start from the middle going out. So you want to sew these two pieces together from the inside corner to the inside corner. This can be a bit fiddly, but as long as you pin first, make sure you use as many as you need, and then just sew along. And then we're going to be sewing the B and C together, and then this side B and C together, or well, whichever way you want to go. And then we'll move on to the top bit, but just focus on this bit for now. When sewing, you want to make sure you're sewing in the direction of fur. This reduces any of the fur getting caught in the bit that you've sewn, basically. You may have to turn the pieces the other way around, but try your hardest to sew in the direction of the fur. Then once you've sewn the pieces together, all you have to do is turn it the right way around again and give them a brush. Make sure you cut all of the little thread pieces off as well. But yeah, just spend a little bit of time brushing out the excess fur because you don't want to have showing seams.
So now that the toe pieces have all been sewn together, this is what they should look like, and I'm just going to put this to the side for now, and we are going to move on to pieces G and pieces F and E, and then combine those two together. So as you can see on here, it says we need to sew G together by sewing the top pieces together, right sides together as always, and the bottom pieces, so it creates a loop. For example, we are going to put these together at the sides, pin them right sides together, sew it, and then pin the other side right sides together, sew it, and you should be left with this. Now when it comes to doing F and E, you want to sew E pieces and this kind of curved piece to F together, and same on the other side, and then we're just going to sew the top bits together like we do on G. So the next step is to pin the F and G pieces together. So what I've done is I've used the seam for the top pieces to line up with the point of E, and then I've just gone around and pinned them right sides together so the fur's touching all the way around. And then what I like to do is push the middle bit inside, so that way it's easier to sew. So now I will put it through the machine like this and then sew round. This can be a little bit tricky, and you do need a really good machine, and you do need to be comfortable with your machine, but what better way to practice than doing it? So let's sew these together. Okay, so now these have been sewn, we're going to turn them back the other way. I did give them a bit of a brush out to brush out any fur that's been trapped in the seams. As you can see here, we've got like this odd little shape, so it comes up, goes under, and then goes down. So this is where we will be attaching the toe pieces. So as you can see, this is where it goes down, and that's where it goes up. Now as you can see, this is a little bit larger than this. This is because it kind of needs to fit together nicely, so it kind of brings the fur in at the top. We need to do this with the fur right sides together, so let's turn this one back the other way. And then we're going to be pinning it like this. So I'm going to basically pin the corners together first and then go from there. Okay, so the next step is to A-plaque the pads on. Now, I talked about this a little bit at the beginning. The technique that I use is A-plaque because, like I said, it basically gets it perfect. So this is how it works. So I will cut a piece of the fabric that extends just past the top here so I can see it on the outside, down and then across. Obviously you have to make sure you have the right direction if you're using minky, like fur direction, going in the correct direction. And you want to make sure when you place it underneath that the fur is on the right side. You don't want it right sides together because there's nothing to turn out. So and then once we place it underneath, we sew around this circle that we've drawn on with a special marker that lasts forever. Basically, it's a fabric marker. It doesn't come off in washes or anything. And then once we've sewn around it, we will turn it upside down again and trim around it. And then once we show the final piece of it being trimmed, there should be a paw pad. I hope that makes sense. I normally use minky, but in this case we are going to be using fleece. So I'm going to basically put this over the fleece and start cutting out squares, and you want to make sure you have 4 of these, 4 for the other foot, and then 2 of the main paw pad, 1 for each foot.
best friend to 23. She left her body and hovered above me. I saw no shadow, I looked around, searched every building and home that I found. I saw no shadow, but felt the glow. The warmth inside me, it kept me afloat. It felt like heaven, it found my bones and gave me comfort when I feel alone. Now you're gone, I'm alone. I guess it's time to get better. Through the pain, I will go alone. If I fall, break my bones, I will scream even louder. 'Cause I'm not dying alone. I lost my best friend to 23. She left her body and hovered above me.
Okay, so the next step is to pin this to the base. So you want to make sure that you have the top part inside out and basically right sides together, so that when you turn it the other way around, the seam is on the inside, not the outside. So I started off originally by pinning the outside and just going around, but actually I find it's better to find the middle seam and line it up with in between the two paw pads in the middle, and then the next seam with the paw pads at the sides, that kind of thing, and just kind of match it up as perfectly as you can. Once you start going around the outside edge, you might have to just kind of go back over, move things around, because sometimes you'll have a little bit left over and you want to kind of flatten it out as best as possible. But just take your time and just pin it all together. And obviously once that's done, just sew it all together. Just take your time with the sewing. It's a little bit tedious, but stop whenever you need to and start whenever you need to. Okay, so once that's sewn together, we're going on to the next part, which is cutting out and sewing the sock part, I like to say. So this is the bit that goes in to hide all of the inside of the foot and to make it really comfortable for your feet. So you can fold the fabric in half, but this fabric was cut a little bit awkward, so I did two. One for each foot, and for the other piece, which you'll see at the end, you want to make sure there's four, because you'll see in a minute. But do a zigzag stitch when sewing these together, otherwise the stitching will snap because this is a stretchy material. Okay. As you can see here, this is how it goes together. So you sew the two side bits of the big sock piece, and then you sew on the lower piece, which I done in a slightly different shade to show you guys, and I think it goes great with the foot. Then you just pin it around to make sure you push the sock in all the way to the end, and make sure you have it the right way around. Then I just lined up the seams on the sock and the foot, pinned those together, and then pinned all the way around. And then as you can see here, I'm just hand sewing this together to make it easier for the bias binding.
Okay guys, so I have to end the video here, but if you want to know how to add the bias binding, then it should be in one of my other videos, or I will do a separate video, so do not fret. But it's quite easy to do, and there are lots of tutorials doing it, so definitely go check those out. But I am going to have to end it here because I have run out of time to upload my video, and I need to upload it today. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment if you have any questions. I answer everybody's. And don't forget, if you hit the bell button, then you will be notified every time I do make a video, which will be another tutorial to help you out, or even just some chit chat videos. So definitely do that as well. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!